What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Play It Out podcast, a competitive-focused Age of Sigmar podcast. My name is Kyle, aka Creator Gator, and I'm here with the magical, mystical man, James. James, how are you doing?
I'm gonna cast.
I'll be casting. He's the casty boy. He is. He's our guest on today's podcast because he's the guy who knows things about endless spells as well as faction terrain.
I'm a goblin.
As a local goblin. I pulled this goblin out from under the bridge. He's going to tell me about spells. Now he lives in a moon.
Let me tell you. Let me read you the lore of my people. So we got the what's it called? We got the article about the new Eldritch manifestation lores, right?
Yep.
And that is it's a lot spicier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I like the changes. As soon as I bring up my notes, I'm going to give a quick summary of everything that they confirmed because they operate differently than what we were expecting. But I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's they are a model selling company. Shortly you'll understand how now everyone wants endless spells.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. That's the number one thing. I forget which podcast I said it on, but I'm wrong. I'm just absolutely wrong. I said you would have to choose between your spell lore or a manifestation spell lore, and I'm just wrong. You get both. So when you for free. So when you build an army, you get a universal manifestation lore or your faction manifestation lore. You get your spell lore. And then you get your prayer lore if you have that attached to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So Stormcast, they're going to get all three, which is kind of crazy. I did not expect them to just give us all of that kind of stuff. But that is the world that we live in.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy that you're just now. So that's the thing, right? Is you have the Stormcast spells, but
I do.
If you weren't an avid collector of Stormcast, right? You have no incentive to buy these, right?
No.
They don't see competitive light of day ever, really.
Yeah. The Comet is the only thing that is good. The other two are absolute garbage.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is now that it's just an all, you just get it. You know what I mean? You're putting yourself at a disadvantage not taking them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll definitely talk about that later when we talk about the packs that they come in.
Yeah.
Or the packs that they're bought,
the new
rule
boxes.
Wise, they're local because I believe I looked up. That was my main thing was I assumed they were not going to say, oh, when they said that they're free and the spells are free, I assume you would have to choose to take a manifestation lore only because my thought was they were de-incentivizing people to collect and buy endless spells because they were currently having stock issues. And I've never seen one on
or
the shelf.
Rebranding. They're doing the same thing they're doing with this Secretors or whatever you call
the Sacrosanct where they're
take them off the shelf, fix them, and then put them back up.
And then put them back up there, yeah. That's what we assumed. But no, you just get them all. They probably will be reboxed at some point in time, but that also brings up an interesting point is they can't just rebox them as is because the sprues are together, not in the right lore.
Yeah, they're not in the same configuration in the lores that they've outlined in this article.
Exactly. So they're probably just going to keep the same box and pray that they make enough.
Put them together. Figure it out.
Pray they make enough because that's what we're going to be doing. Everyone's going to be buying this box.
I can tell you right now I've been scrolling. I'm looking for because I'm trying to get all the Gits lore. I have Scuttletide. I don't have the other three. So I'm trying to see if I can grab those on the cheap.
Yeah, it's interesting that they put this artist together with manifestation lore and faction terrain because that is kind of a similar thing where, all right, well, if you start this faction terrain is something you have to consider. Also, the faction endless spells are something you have to consider. Yep. Also, they're just the general endless spells. There's a lot you would not we say have to, you know what I mean? You don't have to have them. You don't have to have any of them, right?
Yeah.
But they're for free.
It's free. It's you're choosing to put yourself at a disadvantage by not bringing them.
Mm-hmm. And so going through what else we know about the manifestations to kind of summarize the article so we don't read it to you word for word. There's plenty of other people who can read you the article word for word. We're just going to kind of talk about how these things are going to interact. Manifestations operate as units now. So they have health, they have a save, they have a move,
they have a card. They have a Warscroll.
They have a Warscroll. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They outlined the Quicksilver swords for us. They have a move characteristic, they have a health characteristic, they have a banishment score, which works the same way that the current banishment, or it's not unbinding. It is it's not unbinding. Dispelling. So I'm in the same way dispelling works now. There's a banishment score that you can beat with a wizard, or you can attack it and kill it. Which I honestly think I think it's a positive change because, and we talked about this like briefly before. When looking at the Quicksilver swords, it's got 6 wounds. It's got an 8 movement, which it should. It's like a flying spell. It's got a 5 save, so it's not really defensible, because it's like a free unit that you get on the board for like casting it, So it's one of those things like, yes, it causes you to use utility and like using a cast out of your wizard, but it's one of those things that you just get. You know what I mean? I'm also interested to see, like, we don't have heroic actions anymore, right? Yeah. So like, if I like let's say I play Corn, you know what I mean? I guess it'd be invocations that I'd be taking, but it's like I can't like.
You'd have your like I forget who else has invocations. Fire Slayers, right?
Yeah, Fire Slayers are like very priest heavy. They have like endless invocations. I think everybody has access to some endless invocations.
You get something.
Yeah, you get something, but like those are the big ones I know of. I don't know. Can priest cast these too? I don't know if they say that in this article.
They didn't show us. They only showed us endless spells. They didn't show us any, like, what's it called? They didn't show us any invocations.
No, yeah.
They did separate the endless spells they're calling it, so like everything I believe falls under the category of manifestation. So an endless spell and an invocation are both manifestations.
I don't know if they are because there's no invocations here.
I think they are because on the Quicksilver sword they call it a manifestation and then they call it an endless spell.
Yes, but manifestation is like the lore. So it's like manifestation lore is like the type is like that just means endless spell now. I think because invocation is different than spell. Like invocation is like a prayer. You know what I mean? Like an endless right now in the current game.
They said that manifestation. So like manifestation lore encapsulates both.
Okay, so in your manifestation lore, you can choose to take a box of endless spells or a box of endless invocations.
Yes,
got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, the because that's what they say. They mentioned at one point in time about like invocations, and they're classifying them all under manifestations. Because if you scroll down to I said I wasn't going to read an article to you. There is one thing that I want to read out, and that's because it's extremely important. All manifestations follow these specific rules, and they bullet point out the rules, and then they classify manifestations into 2 separate categories where it's static and then moving.
Yeah.
So they do say models can move through the manifestations, but cannot end a move on them, which is how it is right now. Units can finish a charge move within half of them, and they can be picked as the target of abilities like shoot or fight. So that's new. So you can charge these things, and then you can shoot or fight them. Also very new. They can be damaged or destroyed, but don't count as destroyed unit for battle tactics or abilities. Important. They can only use core abilities or abilities on their Warscroll. They cannot use commands or be affected by friendly abilities unless they specifically affect manifestations. Also important, so no all-out defensing your silver swords.
Yeah. They do not think they are swords.
And then they cannot contest or control objectives. So that's the thing that affects all manifestations. And then under the moving manifestations, they say you'll typically need to set up 9 inches away from them, and you will need to retreat to move out of combat. So they kind of operate like a unit like that. If you're deep striking or if you're touching them, you got to retreat. You can't just walk out.
Yeah.
And then typically cannot be set up within 9 inches of an enemy unit when summoned, and can't move in the movement phase after being set up, which
that's way better.
Yeah. Let me read the static one, and then I have questions about how endless spells work right now. So under the static manifestations, you can ignore them when setting up units. So they don't block, they don't like screen out deep strikes. And you can end a move within 3 inches of them, and you can freely move away from them. So they don't operate like a unit.
It's not like a charged thing, or it's not, it is like a charged thing. It's not like a combat thing. Like
they cannot use abilities that involve moving, and they typically have more freedom to place them when summoned. So you can still charge a static manifestation because being able to get charged, shot, or fought is something that can happen to all manifestations. but once you're there, you can move out of there
freely. There's no retreating. Yeah.
So like, we'll talk about this in like the summary, but the manifestations, like, I would be terrified to put them on the board against someone that like gets benefits from charging, because you're giving them a easier target to charge, and then they can just move away from it. For static.
It's also a nice like counterpoint. Like it's like, let's say you're like, it's a nice like jump off point to counter charge if I just want to get across the board.
Yeah. Just it could be potentially free movements without any like. I mean, obviously, if you charge silver swords, you're gonna get hit by some silver swords first, right?
Yeah, but you're making that choice to like I want to trade health for extra movement.
Yeah, but those are basically the core rules of how these manifestations work. And let's talk about how we choose them, because they showed off, I believe, all of the universal manifestation lores.
Yeah. So essentially, I can jump through this here.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of helpful little boxes that they put everything in. The first one here is the Forbidden Power. This looks like the death, manifestation lore. The only one I'm really familiar with is Horrorghast, and I know that like basically it like reduces bravery. It causes you to take a bravery test in the current form of AOS. But other than that, I don't really know I've never seen these on the tabletop, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
I've never fought them and I've never played with them.
I just know the boat, like people who need line of sight use that a lot to get around things and then shoot things, because you technically didn't move. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where it was like you could avoid a lot of rules with the Soul Seeker. It came from the Soul Seeker or the Bridge. I believe it was the Bridge, because everybody called it like, I'm just going to put a bunch of these guys in the boat, and then we're going to move the boat over here, and then I'm going to shoot you.
The shooty boat, the shooty death boat. Okay, so the next one we have here is the Morbid Conjuration. This one I'm very familiar with. Other than the Soul Snare Shackles, I know Suffocating Gravetide I've seen at least 2 or 3 times. It's a great horde clearing spell. Malevolent Maelstrom is one of those that's like really good for or against a high cast army, because it's the one that pops after like a certain amount of cast in the current game. And then the Purple Sun is just the Purple Sun. That one eats models and gives you -1 to save.
I have one of my first, like I went to a tournament, like a small tournament at this local game store, and it was like the first time I think I'd ever gone to a tournament at that specific store. And I brought 3 heroes, and all 3 were eaten by a Purple Sun in one game.
Pretty important.
It was very much, I didn't really understand how it worked, and I didn't really know how to do anything against it, and I didn't focus on trying to get rid of it. I think I did for like the last 2 turns. I was like, oh, it just ate my stuff. So I'm glad that I can fight it now and do something about that.
I know. Yeah. And that element of it is going to make it a lot less like, it's one of those things that it's very unengaging to have like an endless spell eat through your army when you don't have a lot of wizards or you don't have pluses to get rid of stuff.
It's like, hey, my best option is every hero phase. I pick one of my heroes and I use my heroic ability and my heroic willpower and try to get rid of it.
Yeah,
that's like the only thing I can do. And it's still a dice roll.
And I've had that happen to me with the what's it called from Khorne, like the skull, like the blood skulls, the flying blood skulls. Like not many people bring priests, so it's like, I don't have the opportunity to like unbind that roll, but now I can target it as an attack on its way over to me, so it's another option for people that doesn't feel as punishing as endless spells and endless invocations are now currently in the game. Again, I think making the game much more simple, You're taking that whole mini game out of the game. And now it's like, okay, they're bringing it to the level of everything kind of operates on the same, like everything's got health, everything, like it has a banishment score, but at least when you're looking, especially when you're looking at like the Silver Swords, it looks like they're making the endless spells a lot less impactful, but they're making them a lot easier to get rid of. So it's like, you can cast it and it's like, it is impactful, but it's not like, a lot of people like base a lot of army tech and plans around the endless spells that they bring. And like, I feel like they're going to kind of take some of the teeth away from the endless spells, but they're going to make them a lot easier to go off. They're going to make them a lot easier to manage, and they're going to make them a lot easier to get rid of. So it's nice because you get to play with your toys more, and like these get to come back out. You can cast them again when they're unbound. At least you can in the current game. They didn't say anything about not being able to do that here, but I'm assuming it's going to work.
Yeah, when you choose to cast a spell, you can use one of your power levels.
Yes, power level.
Yeah.
But yeah, so okay, next is the Aether Work or Aether Rot. How do you say that?
Aether Rot. Yeah, Aether Rot.
Aether-wrought machineries. That's the chromatic cogs, which is a great, like, you get like speed time or slow time, get, different benefits to cast. Aether Void Pendulum is the, like, you just get D6 mortal wounds. It's great. Big fan. On a 2-up. If you move through it, and it can only move in a straight line.
Yeah.
And then Quicksilver Sword is the one we see here. Very bog standard anti-mortal wound or anti-ward damage. So, depending on how prevalent wards are in the meta, it's a very, very useful spell that you can take. Next one is Primal Energy. This one, Kyle, you said you're a little more familiar with Life Swarm and Burning Head. I only really know Gnashing Jaws, and right now Gnashing Jaws is like super swingy, but it can be super dirty.
Yeah.
Like
the Life Swarm is pretty chill. It's like you just pick a model next to it and it heals D3 after it moves. It's nice. I like it because like it's very low on points currently, and conceptually I always put it in my like Stegodon monster list where I'm just like flying back and forth healing things.
Yeah.
The Burning Head is like, I think it's the cheapest endless spell at like 20 points. And it's pretty bad. You cast it and you send it off at one person, and then when it hits them, it deals some mortal wounds and then disappears, but they're like on fire now, and every turn, or you basically the next turn you roll a dice, and I think on a 4-up they take D3 mortal wounds, but if it fails, like if you roll like a 1 through 3, it just goes away and it stops.
Oh, so it's like it can be a super nothing burger.
It's actually a super nothing burger, because if it even gets there, I think it's like a 2-up to deal D3.
That's
and
so
then
funny.
It goes away. So it's like a one try, because like you cast it and then it has to go all the way there.
It's got to walk.
I think
there.
it moves 8. You know what I mean? So it's like
not that fast.
No, it's a super nothing burger.
The Gnashing Jaws can be crazy because it's like you roll. It's in the same way that you roll for like Squig's movement. You roll for their Gnashing Jaws movement, and then it's like if it lands with it like next to something, you basically are like, okay, well I get to roll this many dice worth of things and see if I get mortal wounds. So it's like Scuttle Tide adjacent, but it can be very spiky.
Yeah, there was a lot of, because I was looking at these because the Primal Energy interests me the most, and I was looking at the Gnashing Jaws because the spells that they've shown us haven't changed that much recently. Like haven't changed that much from their current form, besides having like a health stat and like operating as a unit. But what they do is essentially the same. So I'm assuming it's gonna be essentially the same, which is super fun, because like if you have a 4 movement like heavy unit, like a big like a heavy hitter that like moves slow, and you roll 3d6 and you roll like
the difference.
Like 12. So 12 minus 4 mortal wounds to that thing. Nutty.
Pretty good.
Yep.
And then we have kind of the utility, which is like the Twillet. I don't know why. Is it Twilight? Are they trying to say Twilight?
I feel like it should be Twilight.
I feel like this should be Twilight too, but there's no GH.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to call it Twilight Sorceries because I don't want to say Twillet.
I'm going to say Twillet.
I'm going to go to the Twillet. The Twillet Sorcery.
The Twillet Sorcery. So it's a spell portal you get to cast from afar. Geminids you get to turn off commands. And then the Palisade is to protect from shooting. Very good utility. And then we got the spicy one.
Yeah, I was cliffing through these, and I feel like the community and a lot of content creators, Rob, the Honest Wargamer, hate the Incarnate. Just conceptually, just absolutely despise that specific model. So when I saw that, like, yeah, exactly, I have one too, it's upstairs. When I saw that every army can potentially take an Incarnate for free, I was like,
yeah, dude, for free.
This is gonna be spicy.
Yeah, I mean, they have to take away, like they're either gonna like completely nerf it, they have to. They like literally are required to, because it's like so oppressive if it's not.
Yeah.
You can get an Incarnate just for free.
Yeah, I'm sad they didn't show us the Warscroll for the Incarnate. They showed us like one of each, like a static and a moving, but I wanted to see the Incarnate's Warscroll, because
that's what everybody wants.
If it doesn't look a specific way, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm slapping that in every list. Just, it's gonna be fun.
100%. It's definitely one of those things that's just like, I don't know, maybe I'll just like throw in a 400 point model. You know?
What if I just had a 400 point model in addition to my 2,000 points for free? Crazy.
Especially
like, I don't know what the Incarnate's Warscroll is going to look like, but we're going to look at the Quicksilver Swords Warscroll, and
pretty similar.
It's like, it's one of those things where it's like that the Kron Spine better be bad because I'm not super impressed with these endless spells, honestly.
No.
So yeah, walk us through the Quicksilver Sword Warscroll.
Yeah, so if we're walking around so it's similar to what we talked about. It's got a health characteristic of 6, not super hard to kill. It's got a save of 5, not super hard to get damage through. It's got an 8-inch movement, so it is relatively fast. I'm assuming that it does fly. It's got a ward.
Yeah,
Crazy.
all of them have a ward, including the terrain.
Mm-hmm. Is it always 6 up?
Yep.
Good.
So far,
Nice.
I mean, what we've seen.
Nice.
The 3 things that they've shown us.
Yeah. So it's got 12 attacks, 3 is to hit, 3 is to wound, 1 rend, 1 damage, and it's got crit mortals, which is good. You know, I think it's you're gonna get consistent. Like, what's that? 2 mortal wounds through, and then like
I think it's like 4 average
4
damage.
or 5 damage. Yeah.
And then they have the Dancing Blades passive, which ward rolls can't be made for damage points inflicted by the manifestation's attacks.
Yeah, which is great. So those mortals just go straight through. I don't care about I don't care about your wards.
Yep, it's going to be relatively consistent for damage
through wards, which is nice.
Yeah,
but chewing up a Trog boss, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, no, like it's definitely one of those, and it, like, if they don't pay attention to it, if they don't do anything about it, it's going to stay around. I guess I'll just talk about it now. So, like, again, one of these things is why they're free is because these guys come in like a package, right? You get Quicksilver swords with, what was the other one? You get Quicksilver swords with the cogs and the pendulum. Okay, cool. It has a banishment value of 7. So if you try to cast, assume you're trying to cast this, James.
Okay, I'm trying to cast Quicksilver swords.
You're trying to cast Quicksilver swords. All right, so I'm going to use one of my power levels to try to stop you from doing that. To unbind it. Cool. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then it's on the board, and it doesn't move after it comes out. So then you have to summon it within like a certain range of yourself.
9 inches.
And then it has to get up the board. And then I could potentially just roll a banishment roll. You know what I mean?
Not in the same turn.
Not in the same turn, probably, right? But like next turn, I roll a banishment roll and get rid of it. Oh, that didn't work. I'm gonna. Nothing in this article said it can't be the target of a spell. So I'm gonna deal damage to it with a spell, and then I'm gonna shoot it, and then I'm gonna charge it, and then I'm gonna fight it. And it's like that. There's so many different ways to get rid of it through unbinding on the cast, banishing it once it's out, killing it through shooting, killing it through fighting, killing it through spells. You know, I was like,
again, these things aren't supposed to be like your tanky pieces. These things are like, oh, I have like an option, because I think they're going to remove Mystic Shield and Arcane Bolt. You know, like I don't know if we're going to get the same. Like I think you're basically just going to pick a lore. And you can know any spell from that lore.
Or what's on your Warscroll.
Like,
there's no core.
There's no universal spells anymore. Like, I don't think.
I hope so.
Yeah. I think you'd like, these are your like, okay, you need like another spell, like toss out a, manifestation lore, do something like that. Because you have 2 shopping lists to pull from. So it's one of those things that like these are impactful and have play, but there are ways to get rid of them, which is how I think they should be. Because like, you have to spend, like, if it comes out, right, you can't unbind it or you don't unbind it, and then I charge with it, you know what I mean? Or I'm getting it in, like, it's within 9 inches to charge you, and you're like, I really don't want that thing to charge. Like, I summon it somewhere like 9 inches away from a hero. Let's just say like it's like mid game, we're all kind of in the middle. I summon it over your line, or like it's not over your line, but whatever. Like I summon it like in a way that like it's 9 inches away from your hero. And you're like, I really don't want that thing to hit my hero. You, like, at the end of my, like, movement phase, you pay a command point to shoot in my shooting phase, and you shoot it off the board. Because it's not, like, it's 6 wounds. You know what I mean? If you have any kind of value shooting, you can kill it, and it can't get all out defense or anything. But that forces you to use economy to get rid of it,
That's true. Yeah, I'm living in a world where I don't know what my shooting profiles are going to look like this edition.
No, but agreed. But a 5-up save is nothing.
A 5-up save, and I'm shooting -2 rend. Like even the Gat Rat.
Yeah,
like the Gat Rat plus like one thing of Gisele's can get rid of this pretty easily. Oh, yeah. But again, they come in a package deal. They're for free. They're in addition to other spell lores. I am
kind of annoyed that I have to track their health now, though. That is annoying.
I mean, you have to track everything else's health too. So
true, but it's like one.
Honestly, someone's going to look at this and it's going to fall over. I don't think you're going to have to track it
That's
for
also
very
true.
long. I don't think they're going to be piecemealing down this guy. I think it's going to be one and done.
Yeah, it's. I think that it's good. I think that again, Quicksilver swords. The Palisade is like a cool utility spell, but again, it's got like that one's got 8 wounds, so it's a little tankier. 4-up save, little tankier, but not like, still eatable. Very, very eatable. Like, I think that all of these, I think the Palisade's probably going to be one of your more defensible spells, as it's a fucking wall.
He said like 8 health, 4-up save. I'm like, that's because it's rocks.
It's rocks. It's just a wall.
It's a rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about that one too, because I feel like there's we cover Quicksilver swords.
It's easy. I hit you.
It does what it says in the 10. It's a way to get potential like ignore mortal wounds and maybe I do some damage.
Yeah, it is nice for things where like you feel like you can't get any damage through because of wards.
That's true. There are some units out there, Trog Boss, with a 4-up ward that I'm like, damn, I really just want to do some damage to that thing. Although, like, it's not.
You do. You always do damage to it. The problem is I'm healing D6 on your turn and my turn.
Yeah, it's also kind of annoying because, like, again, the Quicksilver Sword's attacks are now a regular attack, so you can all defense this.
Yes, you can.
So, like, if you are trying to do damage with the Quicksilver Swords and, like, say another unit, it's super efficient to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to all defense this because now.
Because it's going to go right through.
Yeah. I don't know if they just dealt mortal wounds, right? You'd roll 12 dice and like on a 4-up or something.
It was like a predatory spell that would like move over and like do damage. I think it was like you roll like 8 dice or you roll like some amount of dice and like 5s. It's very similar to Scuttle Tide, like 6s or 5s and 6s. I think it's more dice, but it's only 6s are mortal wounds.
Yeah, I think that is correct.
So it's probably like 12 dice, only 6s.
Yeah. So it's easier now to avoid damage from this IMO.
I mean, actually, if you think about it, it's harder because it's the crits. So before it was 12 dice and only 6s are mortal wounds, right? Now it's 12 dice. Crits are wounds anyway that can't be warded, right? But you could also have the opportunity of doing damage through saves, Yeah. So it's not just the 6s that can do damage anymore. You also have 3s, 4s, 5s, and 3s, 4s, and 5s.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
So weirdly, it is more lethal.
True. Interesting. Yeah. But take us through Prismatic Palisade. My opinions are still like bouncing around my head.
It's good. It's good. It's situationally good. This is a utility spell. The manifestation cannot be targeted by shooting attacks, so you have to hit it. You have to like run into the wall and hit it.
Yep.
In addition, a unit, or you can spell it down. It doesn't say anything about that. In addition, the unit cannot be targeted by shooting attacks if a unit cannot be targeted by shooting attacks if it is impossible to draw a straight line from the model in the attacking unit. Oh my gosh! In the attacking unit to a model in the target unit without the line passing through the manifestation. So it's basically like if you can't draw a line, if you can draw a line through the model through the wall, you can't hit it. It's a blocker. It's like no, you can't.
Something that's interesting about this is
my wall here.
They just didn't give it the obscuring keyword.
Yeah, it's weird.
If that's what obscuring
it's terrain. You're summoning terrain. Yeah, you're summoning.
I don't know. So that I don't know why they didn't do that. I don't know why they were specific if there's like a rule distinction. But like you said, no move, so it's one of our static. It's got 8 health, 4-up save, 7-up banishment. It also has a ward of 6-up, manifestation, endless spell. Something I just noticed, our Warscroll cards are on their side now.
Yeah, weird. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't love that.
I don't know if that's just a distinction.
I think I'm gonna be doing this a lot.
I don't know if it's just a distinction that they want to say like, oh, so you recognize which ones are spells and which ones are units, or if the wall was just so long that they had to
wall too
flip
long,
it
have
on
to
its
turn it on its side. The what's it called? Quicksilver Sword's on its side too.
Yeah, I know. I think it's just a distinction that this is a universal Warscroll that anybody can take.
Am I reading this right? So is it my confusion with these words is it if you can draw a line through the wall, like I have to be completely behind the wall to get the protection, or is it if there's any possible way to draw the line?
In addition, a unit cannot be targeted by shooting attacks if it is impossible to draw a straight line from a model in the attacking unit to a model in the target unit. So it's basically like,
if it is at all like behind it.
No, it's if it depends on who's drawing the line. Like, are we drawing from like the edge of the circle to the edge of the circle?
I feel like this is a super convoluted way to say this rule. Like, I don't
think it's convoluted. I think it like, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like your whole base has to be blocked by the whole base. Because like, if I can draw a line,
if I
can draw a line and see around it,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Then it's less good.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, it's very long, but I don't think it's long enough.
Definitely not. Unless you're like putting a foot hero behind it. Like, you know what I mean? Like standing the foot hero against it.
Yeah. It also blocks your shooting attacks.
That's fine. Please don't shoot my goblin.
Don't shoot my goblin. Yeah. Again, it's free. It's free for, it feels free.
I'm taking the incarnate every time.
The incarnate's going to, I don't know what it does, but it's going to do something. I'm just going to sit there.
All right, do you want to talk about the terrain? Not to move quickly, but like...
Well, like, it's a nice little bridge because you can summon this terrain or it comes in terrain. The only notes that I have as far as like a summary of terrain is basically they work like static manifestations. So like how all the rules that kind of apply to static manifestations apply there where they don't block setup. You can charge them. They don't fight typically.
Do try.
They have health, they have a save, and then they operate like regular terrain. So like the one that they showed us, the Magmic Battleforge, which is the Fire Slayer pizza oven.
Yep.
It has cover, impassable, and obscuring keywords, and they give us a nice little terrain 1.2 for the terrain abilities if we want to look those up in the book and see what they are. Yeah. So this is 8 health. 3-up save because it's a pizza oven made of iron. And then the thing that you're going to be doing the most is at the start of any turn, you're going to use its Molten Blessing. Declare, you pick a friendly Fire Slayer's Priest within this terrain features combat range, so they have to be close to it to be the target. And then the effect is you add 1 to the chanting rolls for the target for the rest of the turn. In addition, the target can use the Unbind ability this turn as if it has Wizard's 1. So that's nice. I think it's pretty similar to what it does currently. Just makes your casting easier and makes it so you can unbind a spell. Very nice.
It's nice, some utility. I also like the once per battle heal is nice, you know.
Yeah. And then the other one that you're going to do once per battle, and you're probably going to do this only when you need it because again, it's once per battle in your hero phase. It's called Spending the Forge. You declare a friendly Fire Slayer's Priest within this terrain features combat range to expend the power of the forge. You then heal D3 to each friendly Fire Slayer's unit on the battlefield. Once its ability has been used, the terrain feature cannot use the Molten Blessing ability for the rest of the battle. So you basically turn off your other one.
So it's like you can't you don't want to spend it too early or you just don't want to use it at all. You know?
Yeah, I read that and I was like, I don't know a situation where I'd ever like get rid of the thing that I'm like the casting thing or the ability to unbind to just heal D3 to everything, unless everything has a little bit of chip damage. I don't know. Yeah. It's not worth it.
It's like a turn 2. Like it's like I feel like that's when it's going to be impactful. Is like your whole army bumps into their whole army, and like you want to like heal everything at once.
It's cool. It's just not like I don't know. I think the Molten Blessing is better. I think it's going to be very very rare that you're ever going to spend the forge and get rid of it. I don't know. I'm not a Fire Slayer player, so maybe that's something that they do. But this is a faction terrain keyword, a ward of 6 up. Order Fire Slayers. So yeah, 8 health with a 3-up save and a 6-up ward.
Yeah, really good. And they go on to talk about the Sylvaneth, who are the very like peak
using their faction train.
Using their faction train.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that they show us in this. Do you want to read off the spell that they have? Because they showed us the spell that interacts with the
so Treesong is already a thing. Like Treesong is an existing spell that's like very bread and butter to the army. Every army really brings it. It's a way to get your trees or your Awakened Wildwoods further up the board so that you have nodes to teleport off of, you know? So declare, you pick a friendly Sylvaneth wizard to cast the spell and then make a casting roll 2d6. Bog standard. If there are fewer, so they have this like caveat in there. If there are fewer than 3 Awakened Wildwoods on the battlefield, you set up an Awakened Wildwood wholly within 18 of the caster and more than 3 inches away from all enemies. the objectives and other terrain feature and other terrain features. So you can't set it within 3 inches of anything. So you can't put it on objectives. Important. If there are already 3, so they kind of cap you out at 3, you get to heal the 3s for 3, on the battlefield. There's no, limited. It's also an unlimited spell, so you can cast it as many times as you want. So like if all your trees are low, you can just be like,
heal. I know. I didn't think about that until I was thinking about it in the like turn 1. All of your you bring 3 wizards and then they all cast this spell and then you make 3 trees immediately.
I think you can have the same wizard cast it though. Like if you have a 3 cast wizard, they're just like tree.
No, I don't think so. This is remember the whole thing we had about the unlimited spell? We had the whole discussion. This spell is unlimited, which means that the unlimited definition means that multiple wizards can cast this spell. It doesn't mean that one wizard can cast this spell multiple times. You can still not cast that. I remember in the podcast. Yeah, as soon as I was editing that podcast, I was like, wait, we're stupid. It literally says what the definition of unlimited is and why Nagash's spell is different.
Yeah. We were literally like, Nagash, what? We just
just put the keyword on it. That's what unlimited means.
No, stupid Games Workshop.
We stupid. We can't read. Stupid. Crazy how that happens. But yeah, like you said, like you can either do this where you're setting up wildwoods, and then if your trees are all low, you can slap that heal button, and all 3 you can heal this as many times as you wanted for how many wizards. You can do it in your hero phase, and it goes off on a 6.
Yeah, or it's like you got 3 wizards, and they're just like tree. Yep. Or like I'm assuming you get 1 tree immediately, so you go tree.
Yeah, I like the way that they word this. It's It's very clear what it does. It's very clear what the caveats are. I like the heal 3.
Yeah,
I like that it's not D3. Unlike some people, and I scroll up and see heal D3 on the spending the forge ability.
Yep.
Still seems worse.
Doesn't feel bad.
Yeah, but we all know how the important the Awakened Wildwoods are for the Sylvaneth, so it's nice that they have access to this.
Yeah, and it's nice that they're making it easy. It's also like only a 6 cast, so it's not a hard spell to get off.
Yeah, I'm curious if do we think it says it in the thing, Lore of the Deepwood.
Yeah, it's tied to a specific lore, so you got to bring the lore to play with the trees.
Yeah, what if you don't bring that lore? What if you have Lore of the Shallowwood?
Then you don't have
Lore of the Smallwood.
The Smallwood. I always have the Lore of the Smallwood.
I know. So I wonder if it could be that Treesong is in every lore, and they just decided to pick the Deepwood lore to put on here. But I believe it sounds like you're gonna have to pick one specific lore.
Got to bring the wood book.
Yeah. But yeah, so the pizza oven, 8 health, 3 up save.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely killable. Like it's not hard to kill.
I was gonna say that sounds like something that you could very easily delete. That's less than a Liberator squad, and we've seen how easily Liberator squads fall over.
It's true. It's like a chaff unit. I'm hiding that Loon Shrine. And
some of these things are big. Obviously, the Magmic Battleforge is like big-ish, but it's not like Loon Shrine or Seraphon Pyramid size.
Yeah, Pyramid big. Yeah, or the fucking OC one is like, it's not like, it's tall, it's like tall and thin, like there's like 3 spires or 4 spires or something.
Or the Sea Elf boat.
You're gonna kill my boat.
Again, like you said, I do like this overall. And I guess this brings us to our overall thoughts. Overall, I love that it's in a spot where everyone can interact with them. I love that because I still don't understand how when endless spells come out and when they move and when I can get rid of them. I always say if anybody says currently if anybody in a game says I'm going to cast an endless spell and I don't like that endless spell, I'm just going to try to unbind it immediately.
That's what you do.
That's what I do because I don't want to deal with it because I don't understand how it works. It's a whole different system than what it works.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird mini game, and it's like it's not super complicated, but it's like you unbind it. You know what I mean? And then on the next turn, doesn't matter whose it is. Once it's out, you can dispel it, but it just costs one of your casts or one of your unbinds. So one of your power level in the new.
Yeah, well, you're talking now. I'm talking in 3rd edition as it stands as 3rd edition. Walk me through how endless spells work.
All right, James, a Scuttletide Enjoyer, cast Scuttletide, right?
It comes out of a terrain.
It comes out of a terrain
shit.
feature. Yep. Wild. The way it deploys is crazy, but it does. So it comes out of a terrain feature within 30 inches, and then like I run it into your lines, right? It has no it has like a movement characteristic because it's a predatory spell. Like basically, moving manifestations are like the same thing as predatory spells. Yeah.
What phase does it move in?
At the end of the hero phase, but it says that in the spell, like in the paragraph, it tells you when it moves.
Yeah.
It moves. You fail to unbind it.
All hero phases.
At the end of the hero phase, yes.
Okay.
The hero phase. So yours and mine. Yeah. And that's when it goes off too. It also goes at the end of yours and mine. You know? So basically it goes off. I can walk it in and out. I can use it to move block. I can there's 100 things you can do with it.
Yeah.
You can only unbind it and dispel it. You can't attack it. So it's like much easier, much harder to get rid of if you don't have the tools to do so. And it costs you a spell or an unbind. In this, in the current edition, it's one of those, it's very freeing to be like, oh, I can just zoom past your front line, land right next to your hero, like your one little buff hero, and then I'm just like, okay, 3 mortal wounds,
Yeah, that is actually something. Yeah, so that's the gist of how they work in third, and I think they're very confusing because they move at the end of the hero phase.
Yes,
and they affect usually at the end of the hero phase, although it might differ per spell.
Yeah, it depends on what they do.
And then the other thing is they move very freely, like they have an extreme freeing move, whereas now that they're classified as a unit, they have to, if they want to get within 3 of an enemy, they got to charge. Also, you can no longer just I remember, because I think that Scuttletide moves 8.
It's I think it's 8 and 8 or 9 and 9. It's one of the two.
Yeah, I think it moves 8 because I think that's thematic. But
Spiders.
I very commonly I would try to arrange my guys so that you didn't have a place to set it, right? Yes. But
because I can only ping, the ping that happens is has to be within 1 inch of the base.
Yeah.
So it's I can only do it in a really short radius.
Yeah. So I would try to screen that out. And it was very difficult because you could just fly and move them and they would phase through my stuff and then land at a really
inopportune. I'm touching everything.
Yep. Look, I put a spot where I can touch everything. You know what I mean? And now it's you have to charge. So guess what? Sometimes you're going to roll at 4 and you only can touch the thing that's closest. There's no going to absolutely maximizing. If I can move 10 inches, maximize where I exactly want to set that. It's what do you have the opportunity to set that in? Also, if you set it in something like that, it's going to get fought 3 times. So it definitely it brings it from a subsystem that only I assume everybody except for me knows how they work, right? But now it brings them from a subsystem that you'd have to know about it to, this functions just as a regular unit.
You bring it to the same level. You know what I mean? Yep. You bring everything to the same level so everything works the same. Yep. I like it. Yeah, I think it's a good change. It's annoying that I have to track his health now. I just want it to be around or not around. I don't like that you could shoot my Loon Shrine. That stresses me out.
Yeah, the overall again my summation basically is I like that they brought them all to the similar system because the old system was confusing. I didn't like it. I didn't want to teach anybody about it. Right. Mm-hmm. I like that it operates as a unit. I think that's fun, especially for endless spells in terrain. The thing I don't like is we already talked about how there's so many ways to get rid of it. And they're they did not show us a cast value. So maybe their cast values are very low.
Yeah. I would assume so. Yeah.
If it's a 7,
why would I cast it?
Yeah, exactly. I'm only casting it to basically make more units.
Unless listen, if the cast, maybe that's how they're gonna do the Incarnate. Balance. Maybe it's it's a 10 cast.
No, I don't think so because you only get the Incarnate. The Incarnate is the only one you get.
Doesn't sound bad to me. Doesn't sound bad.
I think that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do the cast, but the defensive profiles are in them. I'm that's interesting because we already talked about how the Magmic Battleforge is basically less than a Liberator unit.
Oh yeah,
you can get rid of a Liberator unit.
Very eatable.
Harder, or sorry, this faction terrain that you get one of and they can't come back.
Nope.
That's easier to push over than a screen unit in Stormcast Eternals.
Mm-hmm. And there's some armies that like highly rely on the efficiency you get from your faction terrain.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be for. I forget what the spellcasting Seraphon are. Coalesced, it doesn't really matter. Your monsters operate on full bracket, and your jaw bites are better. So it's like, But the magic people might want it, and then your Loon Shrine not being able to bring things back.
Oh, that's massive. Like that's massive because it's like into the point value, and like everything's so fragile, like the Izzet Trogs, that it's like, oh, like my army will just fall over turn 2. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting. People were like, yeah, but if they're attacking your faction terrain, they're not attacking units. Like they're using efficiency on being able to attack other stuff. I'm like, very commonly, I would bring. If they left their faction terrain alone, I would drop dragons on top of it just to
mess it up.
Yeah. Well, like I'm dropping them in to break that up, but also like that's a secondary thing that I'm doing. I'm really dropping them back in there, so like they're in your back line, and now you have to think about a unit of dragons. But while I'm here, I'll use my monster's action and destroy this thing.
Yeah,
that is something nice. I do like that you can get rid of them without needing a monster.
Yeah, it doesn't give you like a check, like, oh, did you bring this thing? You know.
But what are your thoughts overall?
Again, I'm stressed about my Loon Shrine, and the survivability is now way less. I think I like that they're bringing endless spells into the game more, because there are a lot of people that it never makes sense for you to take them, so you don't, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
literally never use an endless spell.
It's nice that you now have incentive to. Like, I think that it's cool. They're trying to sell models. I totally get it, but I'm interested in like, oh, this brings another level of play in. You know, this brings another like, oh, like I'm really on the back foot, but I have 2 wizards. I'm going to bring in a couple endless spells to see if I can turn the tide, you know? So I'm hoping that's like, I'm interested to see the rest of the rules, obviously. And I like that they're kind of like in boxes that you have to pick. Like you have to pick your lunchbox. I definitely think that there's going to be a point where everybody's just like, oh, this is the best lunchbox.
This is the best lunchbox.
Exactly. Yeah. And they just bring that every time.
Yeah. Something that people said is by removing the points from it, they basically gave up all of their levers to balance this.
Yes.
So, like, if the Cron Spine is just really good, guess what? Everyone's going to have a Cron Spine.
Yep.
If the Forbidden Power one is just the best, everyone's going to have it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's going to be weird. I think it's going to be a weird... I don't necessarily think it's going to be a good... In that sense, I think it could be potentially terrible.
Yeah.
So, I think it's going to be interesting. Yeah. It depends on what they do when they come out. Because if they're broken or they're like... Because then, like, the only way that you could really balance them is either remove them from competitive play or, you know, like, you change the card, which no one wants you to change the card, you know?
Yeah. They could make the cast. I mean, again, the cast isn't printed on the card.
I think it is, isn't it?
It's not.
Why wouldn't it be?
It's not. Look at it. I don't know why not. I don't know why it isn't, but it's not. Like, if you can scroll down to the spell and you can see the 6.
Yeah, the Treesong is.
But you scroll up to Prismatic Palisade or
that's really weird.
Quicksilver Swords, you don't have a cast value on it. I asked people, like I was in multiple people's live stream when they were reviewing this. I was like, why no cast value? And everyone was kind of like, oh, it'll be printed somewhere else. And I was just like, why?
But I feel like this is where I want it.
This is where you'd put it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very weird.
Yeah, especially if it's like, you know,
I'm excited, but I'm terrified. Is that a good?
You're scare-sided?
I'm scare-sided right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that it gives. So, like, I could take the same Stormcast list to like 3 separate tournaments, but then one tournament I take the Primal Energy Manifestation Lore. One tournament I take the Incarnate. One tournament I take the Stormcast Manifestation Lore. You know what I mean? So, like, it makes each list have basically like 3 different versions for me, at least, because those are all models that I own or could potentially own. So it's one of those things where I like that it's an option. I think it's really cool. I think you're going to see a lot of 3D printed spells.
I do too. I agree, because everyone needs them now. You know what
Everyone
I mean?
needs them, and they're hard to get a hold of.
Currently.
Yeah, and like I remember you were struggling with like use the model for the majority of these guys, but the majority of these guys are a normal base size that you can very easily Google and find a spreadsheet that tells you what their base size is.
Yeah,
some of them are irregular and not. You know, like the
Grave
Tide,
Scuttle Tide,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But most of these are on either an oval or circle base, so it's easy to find the base and then print them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I did pre-purchase some STLs that had like the Burning Head, the Gnashing Jaws, the Live Storm like a month ago. Just because I wanted to have the potential to have them, because I can't find this damn box.
No,
I can't find this man. You know what I mean? The manifestation lore box is somewhere out there.
Dude, I keep putting in and taking out, just like getting the box for gits. You know what I mean? Just getting the whole, like, because it's like $40. I'm just like,
yeah. I did just buy the again. I did just buy the Stormcast one because it was on the shelf. Like, it was there, and I was like, I've literally never seen that out in the wild, so I'm just gonna grab it right here, right 100%. Now. So I built them. They're assembled. I'm gonna paint them. So I'll have them for this edition.
Yeah, I kind of want to get ones, and then I want to have Crown Spine. So it's like I have like the option of like if one's just dog water, like I can take the other one.
Yeah, I think most people are gonna have like one manifestation lore that they use specifically.
Yeah.
But I feel like there were some lists that they would build their entire list around this one spell. Mm-hmm. I think the Soul Seeker was one of those. But I think a lot of these were just like, oh yeah, I took one because I had 30 points.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times, like Aether Void, just a nice like mortal wound output you can throw in. You know, 40 points, or 50 points now, I think.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting.
Mm-hmm. It adds another element, which I mean, again, interested. I'm terrified. I'm scared for my Moonshine. Please don't touch it.
Yeah,
it's so
fragile. Mean the Magmic Battleforge, it has 2 rules attached to it, and granted, like add 1 enchanting rolls is nice, but it's only. I
think it does priest. That now. I think it does. Like I just think that's what it does now, and it's not.
I agree, but I'm saying like it gives 1 priest plus 1 enchanting rolls, and 1 priest the ability to unbind 1 spell. The heal, the once per game heal, right? But like this, your Loon Shrine is very like indicative to how your army is built and plays.
Yes.
I'm wondering if they're removing some of that from the Loon Shrine
and putting it into the models.
Because,
I'd be fine with that.
Because now it's like the faction terrain's not coming back. If you kill it,
I mean, if you want to give me, if you just want to give me like 6 Wound Trogs with a 5-up ward, I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally.
No, please. The only thing that has me hesitant about the whole faction terrain thing is the fact that I feel like it's got to be over 10 wounds or 10 health. It's kind of crazy to me that you can be like, oh yeah, there's a giant pyramid. It's got 10 health and on a 3-up save.
It's got less health than my Stegodon.
Exactly. Yeah, it's weird. That's a thing. The other thing was there's a lot of times where I guess so monstrous action, Crush to Rubble, you remove it from the board, right?
No,
the ability
it's
to
just
turn
dead.
off.
Yeah, it's just dead. Yeah.
So that's something that someone mentioned about Treesong is that it says it's like there are fewer than 3 Wild Waken Woods. You can set up another one. So I don't know if when someone kills a tree, does it go away? I assume it goes away.
I think I think so. I would assume so. I don't know. I'm interested. I haven't played against, and I don't know the rules for
trees
currently. So
my current questions that I have for this overall are manifestation value, where that, how that. Mm-hmm. These don't count for battle tactics, right? Like they just said if you kill them, they don't count as battle tactics.
Yes,
but can I use them to
charge and then fight?
Well,
my destruction battle tactic?
Yeah, can I use them for my destruction battle tactic? Is it a friendly unit that I can use for their take their flanks?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be important. Like I think that what we got here is like even though it's a nice little PNG, it's like a long and the short of, or it's like a blah blah blah. Like we kind of need like rules as written, to really get like how this is going to interact with other things in your army.
100%. Yeah, it's that's the best way to put it. Is this is interesting? They showed us the concept of how this is going to work, but we have lots of little questions.
Yes, complicated game, complicated rules.
Complicated game, complicated rules. Less complicated than before.
True.
Still complicated. That's okay. Next time, we're going to be talking about potentially a less complicated way to play. and that's Spearhead.
That we're so excited about.
We are excited about it. We both have significant others that we would love to potentially show them how to play this game, and we believe that's playing on a 30 by 22 board would be a much easier way.
True.
So we're super excited for Spearhead. We'll record that later on in the week because they're going to show us additional rules potentially on Friday. So we'll see it. Is there anything else that you want to talk about for the Endless Spells or Faction Terrain?
No, I think we're all good. We're scared. We're gonna
You're
ball,
scared because you don't want your
loot.
No, okay. Clarify. Are you scared because you don't want a bazillion endless spells flying at your face, or are you scared because you don't want your faction terrain shot?
Both.
Both
Because there's no way to balance them.
I'm scared because there's no way to balance them, and like they used to have a rule was you could only take the amount of endless spells as you have wizards.
Yeah.
Now you just get the 4, regardless of how many wizards you have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it would take because like
casts.
say you have like a power level 2 wizard like the booty butt shaman that we've already seen, so he can cast 2. So then turn 1 it's just like endless spell. 2 different endless spells. So
dancing in the background. Yeah, exactly. I just think it's going to be like I don't really have a lot more to say about this. I think that we are in need of clarification. Yeah. Really,
True.
But 4th sounds hot.
Free Incarnate.
Free.
Sounds good. Well, let us know what you guys think. I'm curious because, like, again, this isn't my backyard specifically, so I want to know what other spell enjoyers do with their stuff. So let us know. And thanks for tagging along. We appreciate it.
Yep. We'll see you soon.
Yep. See you guys.
See you, gang.